Hello, my name's Margaret Shackell, and today I will be presenting research that is co-authored with one of my colleagues at Ithaca College, Alka Brahankar, and a colleague that used to be at Ithaca when we began that, Janine McCartney. We'll be talking about our survey that we did of global perceptions and practices of household food waste. We talked to a lot of people around the globe, and we have some interesting results and some ideas for how to make progress. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss was how much of a crisis food waste actually is. I think we all underestimate the impact that this has, but 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted annually. And so that, without context, sounds like a lot, but it actually is a third of all food produced globally. We waste. And I think people understand that food is wasted at various stages, on farms, in transport, at the grocery stores, but the impact from household food waste is 60% of total food waste. And so this is a problem that we really need to deal with. In addition, it contributes 10% of greenhouse gases. So if we can reduce this, we can make an impact on our climate. And the UN, through their SDGs, have plans to reduce global food waste in half by 2030. However, it's 2025, and if your life is anything like mine, those 5 years are going to go super quick. So we need to take action, and we need to take it now. If we step back and think, who does this impact? It impacts everyone. People, planet, profit. We see economic loss, a lot of money wasted in expenditures on food. We still see people who are struggling to eat amid abundance and waste elsewhere. And we see this impact on our climate and other environmental impacts. How do people waste food? There are a lot of ways that we each contribute to this problem. I find regularly when I go out to a restaurant, I'm aghast. I'm like, that is too much food for one person to eat in one sitting, right? So those oversized portions, especially in the US, that we have been used to. I know my daughter will throw something out as soon as it hits the Best By date. And there are a lot of people who are confused with that kind of labeling. People don't necessarily store their food well. They might not have it in airtight containers. They may not freeze it if they're not going to use it within the week. All different kinds of poor storage can really increase food waste. And then, who doesn't love Costco? We do love Costco, buying in bulk, but those kinds of things can lead to more waste or, hitting those Best By or those Use By labels. So we have a sense, because we live in the US, of the problem here, but we wanted to understand the problem elsewhere. And so we were able to survey 1,425 participants from across the globe. And as I'll show in the next slide, we looked for differences in religion. We balanced our survey with gender. We found people who live in urban environments, rural environments, because the impact of food waste can be very different in those situations. We compared what are called weird countries, Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic, with non-weird countries. And so we ended up sampling from Argentina, Canada, Chile, China, Egypt, France, India, Kenya, Malaysia, Morocco, Sweden, the US, and the UK. And so you can hear in that list a great diversity in terms of the types of countries. As you can see, we also have a difference in religion, in language. We translated our survey into 5 languages using Google Translate with then adjustments by native speakers in those languages to ensure that we were asking the question consistently around this globe for this big study. So the key finding is that people believe that there is household food waste, but that they are not the problem. So in every context, the answer to how much does my household waste was on the lower side. We don't waste very much. Then it ramped up a little bit when we asked them, how much does your community waste? Well, they waste a little bit more. And then it ramped up again when we asked, how much do people in your country waste? That was a significant amount. Unfortunately, we didn't ask about other countries, but I think we can probably predict what the result would be, and that would be even more. And so this perception was the most robust finding that I have had in my almost 30 years of doing research. Whether we cut it by gender, by age, by religion, by country, by education, by urban, by rural, any of the variables that we had, we see this exact same pattern in that it is not me that is contributing to this problem, it is others. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that later, how that makes it difficult for change to happen if people aren't acknowledging the problem that exists. So in contrast to that finding, we did find that people are quite aware that what we are doing with consuming natural resources is a problem, and that food waste is a big part of that problem. However, only 38% of people practiced all the habits that we were surveying about in order to reduce food waste. So they know, but they don't necessarily do. So the things that people do are properly use leftovers, either eating them or giving them away, storing food, keeping a list, and to a small degree, planning meals ahead. Those were the top 4 behaviors. Although they did differ significantly by region and by cultural norm. The things that people were willing to do more, so this is the percentage of people who weren't currently doing this practice, were the same things: keeping a list, planning meals, storing properly. There's very low interest in eating slowly, sharing within a neighborhood, ordering portion control meals. And there is some willingness to use more leftovers, to limit variety, because that is a big contributor to food waste, and to reduce delivery. So what I would like you to know is that we need to have people acknowledge the perception gap. We each contribute to food waste, and there's something that we can do. We should design targeted implementation in order to be able to hit the people in the cultural norms that work for them. And we should start doing things that allow for easy wins to make those behavioral shifts and build our confidence. We need to change both our systems and our individual norms in order to be able to overcome this problem.